here, and welcome to Diecast Breakdown. It is Easter, Passover, and Ramadan weekend, so if that's not an excuse for us to take a week off of being live, I don't know what is. So here is a pre-recorded interview that we did with Frank Leutz of Wrenchnation TV and returning guest favorite Fireball Tim Lawrence. Fireball put us in touch with Frank, is a good friend of his, and we were so delighted to sit down with both of them and talk about everything from big cars to little cars to creativity to the philosophy behind why people create art of all kinds. It's a really heady episode. There's a lot to think about, but I'm really excited to bring this one to you today. So I'm going to get back to my Easter celebrations at Tracy's grandparents' house and let you get to this interview. So here we go.
You're watching Diecast Breakdown with Chuck Ellis, David Johns, and Mark McHotwheel. So sit back, strap in, and hang on. The breakdown starts now.
All right, well, we are back, and do not check your playlist. Yes, we have Fireball with us yet again for a three-peat. I am so excited that we got Fireball back. I am so sorry I missed the last one. I even dressed special for the occasion. I'm wearing my Diecast Heroes tee. And nice. Fireball has brought a special friend with him. We have got Wrenchnation's Frank Leutz with us today. Frank, how are you doing?
Right on. Good to be here. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, and Fireball, thank you so much for coming back. How are you doing today?
Of course.
And it doesn't take anyone who's known Fireball for more than 2 seconds to know that he is the most positive person that you can talk to when it comes to a podcast, and he's been a guest on both our shows. But Frank, I'm going to start with you real quick. For those who somehow have found us and don't know who you are, tell us about Wrenchnation TV and a little bit about yourself.
Right on. So Wrenchnation kind of grew out of what I've heard for 32 years in the automotive industry, which is it's a shitty industry to work in. Number one, automotive technicians, you can call them network engineers now, don't get paid enough. And the parents in this mix has somehow were to believe through the counselors in high school, oh no, you don't want to be that greasy mechanic there. They had a poster of a greasy mechanic. You want to go over here to this 4-year college. So Wrenchnation was kind of born out of really, like Fireball, to try to inspire not only the industry. I do represent the aftermarket. I sit on the Automotive Service Association's National Mechanic Ops Committee, so we have thousands of shops. I am a shop owner. I can go back. I started with my dad, my father-in-law, in 1990, hating it. Didn't want to get my nails dirty and all of that. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I was a musician in New York as a jazz trombonist, played Carnegie Hall, Avery Fisher, Alice Tully, played with Tito Puente, Dizzy Gillespie, Lionel Hampton, Branford Marcellus. I was a musician. I was a broke, happy trombone player. That's what I wanted to be in life. And so when I did a hard left turn, put my horn down, wanted to get out of New York City at the time, which was just well, it's like it is today. It went back. But in the 80s, New York was a tough place. So I joined the Navy and did Persian Gulf minesweep operations, put my horn down and took a hard left. And that's what brought me out to the West Coast. Of course, they wanted me to march with my horn, and that just was not my gig. So from that, at the time, I met my girlfriend, who now is my wife at 32 years. She said, let's go to Arizona. Because California, I thought Coronado. I could rent me one of those apartments in Coronado. No, those are $3 million condos, you schmuck. So I didn't really want to leave San Diego. It's where I was stationed. Came out to Arizona, met my wife at the time. She says, come on out to Arizona. My father's got a garage. You can come work with him. I'm like, I don't want to fix cars. I don't want to do this. But I had nothing going. And so I started with him. And then long story short, 4 years later, opened my first business in 1995, grew that business, sold it in 2001-ish, and then built the Desert Car Care brand, up to which we had 3 locations at one point. And now I do a lot of work with the industry. I hate the word coaching and expert and all that. It's really just sharing the journey. If I can help younger operators, absolutely. Now within the business, we had some great accomplishments. Small Business of the Year, top 10 ranking Arizona. I mean, we had a marketing calendar that entailed community events every month. The way I looked at business in the last 15 years is we're fortunate to have this vessel. It wasn't about just taking in money and fixing cars well. So we did a lot of that. And then from that, Wrench Nation was born. It started off as just my therapy, if you will. But I was on a journey to highlight the good works in the industry. And since then, we've had guests from all over the globe. And of course, Fireball and I met probably a good, Fireball 4 or 5 years ago. And we had a lot of common ground and interest. And it was all rooted really around just trying to really inspire the tribe around us. Not that we have it perfect, but I think we need more of that with humanity and society, regardless of just the automotive industry. So that's the story. That's the Brady.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just added this amazing vision of you in the desert sweeping for mines with a trombone, and I was like,
I love it. There
way
you
to
go.
do
There's your next meme, baby.
You getting that frequency just right, and
Yeah.
that's
If only Frank could teach me how to change oil on a diecast, I'd be complete.
Yeah, there we'd be set. Yeah.
you gotta use an eyedropper, little, just a few drops on the
really
axles.
tiny.
That's how you change the oil. I love hearing the stories of how people find their ways to the car world, and it's funny. I know exactly the posters that you were talking about, because I actually wanted to do mechanics and work on cars, and then my mom was like, look, you're always worried about your fingernails getting dirty. You think you're going to be okay with working on this all the time? And then of course you find out later that those guys are making 75, 80 bucks, 90 bucks an hour, especially if they're running their own business. So I'm very much big on supporting the trades, and I'm an amateur wrencher myself. Mark is definitely the most professional of the three of us. We were just talking the other day about the connection between the big cars and the little cars, and how we can't think of a shop that we've been in that didn't have diecast cars in it. Everybody's limited by space at a certain point. But, if you've got the space for the big cars, I would $1,000 down in a heartbeat that there's little cars somewhere in that shop with it.
I had a terrible addiction
Yeah.
back in 2001 or 2. I told my Matco tool truck guy, I want every single car that comes out from the NHRA. I want every top fuel. And next thing, you got 8 glass cases.
Sure.
And sadly, when I sold my first place in 2001, 2002, everything paid. I put all my tools in storage along with these wonderful collections. Racing Champions. I'm sure you guys are familiar. That was and some schmuck breaks into my tool, into the storage unit.
Oh.
And so I will tell you, that was a $47,000 claim just on the tools, not the toolbox, just
Sure.
the hand tools. And I cried like a grown man. I was like, because raise your hand if you're married. If you are, go hug your old lady, because she's the smart one. Because I didn't get storage insurance. And so Josephine says, hey, we got home warranty. So anyway, all the stuff, long story short, was covered, and I was able to recover
That's great.
some of this. But yeah, you're right about the collectibles.
Yeah, it's funny. Both you and Fireball, it would seem your collections have come tinged with tragedy at some point, but you've both been able to rebuild.
Yes.
That's encouraging for anyone who's out there. You can always.
Every diecast has a story, right?
Yeah, right. So
Yeah, I wasn't aware that I told that story. I'm still reeling from it, even though it was.
I think you
40,
told it
45
twice,
years
Fireball.
ago.
I think you told us at least once.
well, between that and the guitar, and people go back and listen to previous episodes of Fireball and hear the sad story about a guitar of legend that made its way out through a garage sale. We were just talking to Adrian over at Para 64. They're a manufacturing company that started in 1/18th scale and went to 1/64. Is there a particular scale of diecast that you prefer, Frank?
Now, in fact, I've got one here. This was given to me by Greg Ovist, the 48
Nice.
Tucker.
Yes.
And I think for me, what makes all of these collectibles is sort of the relationship, whether you're giving it or receiving it. Sure, we can go out and buy it, but this means a lot to me because Greg is the co-host of the show,
Sure.
and he's a big car head, and so I think the memories really, at least at my level, every piece I have is a memory. I mean, I've got some of the Top Fuel collectibles that have tobacco on them, Copenhagen, and obviously those are highly collectible because that was an era when I guess everyone smoked and went to the rec strip. But I think the beauty of it, to answer your question, for me, any size scale works, and these are shown and these are shared with my family and clients, and there's some sort of connection to it all. I never thought I'd actually get into the collectibles, but with Matco,
honestly, I think most of those kinds of things have that sentimental aspect. It's
Sure.
You might have been on a trip to Vancouver and you went somewhere and you spotted this one car and now you have that memory. And I remember as a kid, my family took a trip to Canada and my mom said that you can take one car with you because I just wanted to take my whole shit. You can take one car. And I said, well, I don't want to take any one of my cars, but I will go and buy a new car and take that with me. So that worked. And she bought me a Ford GT original classic. And I took that car and now I still have that car. It's in our museum here at the Murphy. And I can look at that and I can say that I was 6-7 years old when I took that trip and I had that car in my hand the whole time.
If you guys remember when Greg was on the show on Diecast Breakdown, that's what struck me. He always really focused on the story behind the car. When he went out to find a car and buying it from someone or restoring it or whatever he does, I remember he found a one-off in, I think it's like the cover vehicle for his website now. It's just an incredibly rare vehicle. And that's what I took away from that entire interview was, man, he really loved the story behind how that person got that car, why they hung on to it, and why they restored it. And you're right, Frank and Fireball.
It's the same thing with the full-size cars, right?
We did a whole video series, by the way, and don't ask me to remember what car that was, although I spent 8 hours filming it. But that's out there. I believe that's on our Wrenchnation YouTube channel. But you're right. And speaking on that, it's amazing to those that, like me, I mean, I was a subway kid in New York. Like I had nothing to do with anything mechanical other than taking the token and mechanically slotting it in so I could get up. But the introduction by way of diecast and perhaps you get next level so I think for us, it's huge. Our show is done out of the East Valley Institute of Technology. It's a national ranking school. I can get the instructors on. I can get the students on so that they're talking to their peer group. And I think this whole automotive vibe is just important. I always said, put automotive people in government, man. We got it.
Yeah, there you go.
We can fix just about anything with zip ties and duct tape. So yeah, we can balance that budget.
Yeah. We should go to Iran and start a car show, do a Taliban car show and see who shows up. Be that they'll make everyone just kind of chill out. Like
that's all they need to do.
Today, I think we'll just go to the car show.
Are we sure Iran doesn't have car shows right now? That could be. Wait a minute! You just gave me a show topic.
There you go.
I did once sell a.
I like that.
Yeah, I did once sell a '82 Toyota Cressida to a gentleman in Lebanon who said that was his dream car when he was a kid, and I was like, okay, cool. But I guess back in the early '80s, you couldn't get European luxury cars out there, so the best thing that you could get if you were a sheikh or an oil baron out there, you had a Toyota Cressida, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think their shows are called Cars and Catastrophes. Isn't that what they?
Interesting.
Was that too
much? I was going to say that the modifications that they do to cars out there, they're kind of one-time use. Yep. But anyway, and that might be too far. Well,
we had I think it was show 145, probably 2.5 years ago, and it was really cool. We had Noor Daoud from Palestine. She's a drift racer.
Oh, wow.
female
Mhm.
drift racer.
Wow,
So she
cool.
came on. Of course, she was big in the Dubai circuit, and she was picked up by some sponsors, but she gave her whole story about the trials and tribulations of what she went through. But I'm going to write that one down. Iran kart
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Let's see what we get.
You know, there's got to be
I would
something. I think what we get fed in the news is not really exactly what's going on just
Right.
about anywhere. But and not to be upfront about it. I don't think that there's any, and I've said this many times, I don't think there's any event that you could do that wouldn't benefit from having a classic car parked out front. Right? It's a
Mhm.
point of interest. It's a photo op, and cars and coffees are exorbitant nowadays. I mean, going out to see Frank and going to Scottsdale or going to SEMA or the simple cars and coffees, which are everywhere, bring people together in a way that really nothing else does. It's pretty extraordinary. Pretty cool.
On that note,
No, you're
Fireball, I think about how SEMA will slowly reinvent themselves from ICE to EV.
Mhm.
We know that, I believe it was GM, Ford, and I think Honda had pulled out on a large scale. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. One of the questions we ask on the show of most of our guests as we exit out is, where do you think car culture is going? Are we going into this stale machine learning, AI, 100 million lines of code that we've got to work on that we just don't have a relationship with our vehicles? I'm not seeing that, but I may be a bit naive. I don't know. Some feel like it is going to.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, and I get that question a lot too. I think that it's a present day occurrence, especially out here, that we'll continue to do these things as long as they continue to bring joy into our lives somehow. And really, honestly, what we're talking about right now are the stories, and it's not even really about the cars. It's the stories of what you guys have done with your builds. It's the stories of the diecast. And those stories never end. And young kids are grasping those stories as much as we are. I don't think, if anything, we're on an upward trend.
Agreed. I've been following a lot of this stuff recently with AI and art generation, and people are complaining, oh, well, it's theft or it's going to make artists obsolete. I was like, are you kidding? Do you see the opportunity here for people who might be afraid to pick up a pen? They could start with some AI prompts, or the opportunities that you could, as a conceptual designer or who's trying to get an idea across, that now you can actually type it and create a visualization of something that you might not be able to communicate otherwise, like the power in being able to increase communication alone and to be able to visualize a concept. Yeah, there's going to be technology changes, and I have some friends who are digital artists who are all up in arms about AI and it taking their work, and I'm like, you do your work in Illustrator, and you're going to tell me that this is not pure art or this is too low effort? Come on, give me a break. If somebody creates something and it's of value to them and it's of value to somebody else, where's the harm in that? How does that hurt anything? And I think it's the same with cars too. Like if it wasn't for the advancements of technology and the internet, I wouldn't have had the courage to actually take my first car, my 64 Plymouth Valiant that I've had for 25 years, and strip it down to its absolute core and start the car over from scratch, because I knew that there were resources out there. When I started with the car in 1997, I would have never tried that because I had never picked up a wrench before. I didn't know the difference between a Haynes manual and a factory service manual. And then along came this technology where I could connect with people who are literally all over the world and could go, okay, well, in Australia, we modify the engine to do this. And this guy was one of the first turbo slant 6 racers. And now I can email him anytime with questions about this engine or that, or the opportunity to connect people around the world is just so powerful, and to empower people to take that first step.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more Diecast Breakdown after this word from our sponsors. Here's this week's small channel shout-out.
Pimp my diecast.
If you have a favorite Diecast channel with less than 700 subscribers and you'd like to see them highlighted on a future episode, email us at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The Diecast Media Network store is here. Wear your passion with pride, featuring designs from Diecast Breakdown. flying Valiant builds, plus unique designs inspired by diecast culture from Justin Ellis. Visit tpublic.com/diecast media network now.
Hey, this is Champion DJK, and you're watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now back to Diecast Breakdown.
Yeah. The one thing you're not going to get rid of is opinions. I just finished on a project last week, a TV show for Hulu, and I talked in the last 6 to 8 months. I've talked to in excess of 1,500 production designers, and my concern was that a lot of concept artists were going digital, and now it's reversing because a lot of the digital artists are using the same tool, and therefore their techniques are looking very similar. And they want to go back to traditional art. So my work is kind of a combination of both, but mostly traditional. And this, I was hired specifically on this TV show because they wanted what they considered it to be traditional art, or one said real art. I don't think it's necessarily real or fake, but the adage that some people can't handle change or technology. The one thing I love about Frank is that he absorbs change like it's a drug. That when you look at change as an asset, as something that's wonderful, something that's exploratory, then you expand out of that. When you fear change, you enter into the dinosaur kingdom, and things become difficult. So it's like the technology with doing plastic Hot Wheels versus diecast. Some guys are up in arms because some cars have plastic parts and are not a full diecast body like the originals. Or things change. You roll with it.
And it kept the price point down to below $1 a lot longer than it should have. If you really comes down to it. It's okay to be sad that times change. It's not okay to try and hold that back and prevent other people from enjoying it. And that's really where and it's funny you mentioned the real art thing. I have a very dear friend of mine who is an illustrator, and every now and then he will make some crack that's like, hey, I'll make some comment about customizing die casts, and he's like, yeah, and when it comes to real art, it's a lot of the same thing. And I was like, excuse me? But anyway, I know what he means, but it's he's like, well, real art. No, what do you mean real art? What is real art? And then that starts that nobody wins in the discussion to define art, especially on the internet. But
art is making a salad. Making a salad is art. Getting dressed is art. We're creative beings. That's what we do. And
absolutely,
it's nice that I don't think that the automotive or the passion for the automobile is certainly going to change. And it's changed over the years from vintage to tuners. There's changes. But when you get on board and welcome that change and promote that change and support people, what's important is your thought process about this. The way you look at things is what it becomes for you. And Frank understands this intimately. It's very important that if you get to a point where you can do something really well, the goal isn't to make as much money as possible. The goal is to find a way to give it back to that community so that a rising tide raises all ships as best we can. And Frank and I have seen eye to eye on that level for a long time now. And I admire the guy as well as you guys. As long as we talk about diecast here on this show and keep people's interest and excited about what's coming, things that people are working on, then we're doing our job.
If I could add something to that real quick, because I think the freedom of expression as individuals, we have our outlets, whether it be diecast, whether it be a 57 Chevy that you're overhauling, or if you're in Sweden, whatever your bicycle, whatever they're overhauling. But what we need to pay attention to, and I've got to speak on this for our industry, and we're seeing this, is the right to repair. Legislatively right now, as you guys know, data is gold, more than gold, right? And so we're seeing this phenomenon. Of course, we're fighting it, and we're fighting it respectfully. We realize that the OEs who manufacture these vehicles need to protect data. We understand absolutely it should be hacked. So if you came in my garage, we're on a separate Wi-Fi that's highly secure. so that we can send packets as we're programming and so on. But my point on rights of repair is it's something that we have to pay attention to big time, because that may hinder our ability to receive the information to properly repair these vehicles. So I've been on a mission with the Auto Care Association to get the word out to as many as possible. And again, this is not a political forum or anything, but I think those that are fixing their cars in their driveway, if they want a piece of information, i.e. a flow chart, to be able to look at the exact diagram regarding a circuit, and they don't have access to that, could this possibly cause the lack of interest, over time? So it's critical that we're able to protect data, but also have unfettered access in a professional manner. So that's just my spiel. And it's not just cars, guys. You guys know, like, I think it's all electronics. It's just right to repair in general.
Yeah.
Farmers who are in the Midwest that buy a $3 million piece of equipment don't mess with a farmer. He wants to fix his stuff. Right. That's what he does. And she does. So it's important that we pay attention to that.
I want people to hear from you exactly what all Wrench Nation can do, because as I kind of looked through the podcast, man, I was really impressed by the scope of topics that you cover, the guests that you bring on. I really think there's something there for anybody that has anything to do with a car, right, which is only 99% of the planet. I heard one intro on your show. You want to be a resource for the automotive community. Just educate our viewers, maybe briefly or however you want to do it. What all can they expect if they log on to Wrench Nation and listen to a few shows? What are they going to get out of it? Because it's fascinating stuff, and the information you give is, frankly, it's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Honestly, thank you so much. The show is a lifestyle show, as best I can put it. A lot of my good friends across the country, they have the traditional car tip, call in, car tip. This is how you can fix your car. And I've serviced over 70,000 vehicles in the last 25, 27 years as an independent, maybe closer to 100,000. Now, I haven't touched each vehicle. These are vehicles that you get intimate with. So I love to be able to share the tips, but what I even love more is sharing just the wild, fascinating stories of folks in the industry, whether it be a designer out of Holland that calls in, or Vidita Singh from Barwani, India, who has Marnaka lineage, who is now an automotive artist. And so I'll be honest with you, for me, it's first and foremost, it's like therapeutic for me. Yeah, I guess there is some sense like you got to enjoy what you do, period. And then if you're happy with how you sing in the shower, you're not going to please everyone, but that's like a starting point. And so at best, I would describe it as an automotive lifestyle show. And our mic is open, not just for A-listers or the average automotive rock star that's on the corner who's carving out a wonderful, wonderful community experience, those that are paying it forward tremendously. So I think it's important to the industry. And I'm just that brand reach. Is at the end of the day, I have a vessel to be able to get that out. And again, doing the show, I mean, it's post-produced and it's sent up to Radioland. There's a few more stations and, of course, the podcast. But doing the show for 7 years out of the East Valley Institute of Technology, like I can promote the show. And it's not just on air 60 minutes. I talk to students that have major issues they're at crossroads, and that's where I want to be. That's just where I want to be. And so you do something, and then all of a sudden it's 270 some odd shows later. It is what it is. But I hope that answers that, David. And an open invite for anyone listening in the industry. It truly is. I do everything myself. I have a publicist that does other things for us, for our companies, but for the show, I book it, I write it. It's everything is laid out. And so thank you for sharing that. And anyone listening, if you've got a great story, we'd love to share it. I mean, there's no pomp and circumstance.
Well said.
Sure. That's awesome. Maybe one of these days I'd love to come on and tell you I started my own business
with a name like Nick Hot Wheel. You were on,
I got all
baby.
kinds of stories, man.
Just to toot Mark's horn for a second here. He's just got some. I know he hates when I do that in front of other people, but awesome stories of restoring old cars, and he's forgotten more about detailing cars than any of us will ever know. And so yeah, I can vouch for that being an absolute gold mine of content for you if you ever get Mark on. But
Awesome. You don't want to hear my first 240 story. When I moved to Arizona, well, here you go. I moved to Arizona. I didn't have a pot to piss in. Young 20-something, just carving it out. And I picked up this old, 240. And I was a 100-hour a week guy. I never worked less than 100 hours. I mean, I worked at the hospital as an EKG tech, 36-hour weekends while I wrenched at the dealer before I opened my place, right? So I always worked. Like, I didn't believe Saturday and Sunday, like, you can make money Saturday and Sunday. And so if you don't got it, what you do have is time. You figure it out. So anyway, I bought this 240 and I had this opportunity to DJ. I'm like, oh yeah, I could DJ weddings. Oh yeah, I could do that. So I took this 240, which was pretty beat up, and put all the equipment in the back. And here I am pulling up to the Biltmore, multi-million-dollar wedding, what have you. And I'm just unloading gear and I'm the DJ ready to go. So when I hear 240, that's what I hear.
Memories, man.
But they are great. Who would have thought they would have been such the future classics that they are now, right?
Oh yeah, they are worth 240s and 510s, and they're worth. That's what I have. I have a 69 510 best. I don't think there was a bad car in 69. I don't think 67 to 69. I don't think there was a bad car. But
I've said that before. Yeah, it's like 67 and 68 specifically.
No,
like every car from that era looks amazing.
Pretty much, yeah. There goes back to art. But yeah, my car. You used to be able to find them for. I think we got my first 510 wagon for $800. It was flat black. I put a note on it and said, "Would you sell this?" Because it was just sitting there for I don't know years. And they called me up and I bought it, and it was just a total piece of trash. I could barely make it up the hill. It sputter and pop, but I loved it. It was my first Datsun turd. Actually, it's the second one, but yeah, I've had probably 7 or 8 Datsuns now. In the shop right now is a Citrus 280s DX, so it's a 79.
Yeah,
but
sorry,
it's an original. So
yeah.
There's a really cool story behind this car, which I'll just tell you the quick story. But the owner, his sister-in-law owned the car. She bought it brand new in the area at Yonkers Nissan. I've got the window sticker. I've got the markup sticker, the glove box. It's pretty amazing to see the little Datsun sticker. And then she passed away. She drove it daily. It was very passionate. Just drove it on the freeway daily. Then her husband got it. He passed away. And so now it's in the possession of like my client here, and he's got a lot of sentimental value under this car, and it's such a cool color. It's citrus green. I've never seen another one. So it's all faded. It sat for 22 years in a garage. I got it running after 22 years, and that feels pretty good to like kick over a car that's been sitting for 22 years after you get all the terrible gas and fix all the blown fuses and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's those kind of stories and it's the sentimental value that really makes me love these projects that you do for people. You get the car shining again, you get it running, and it's just, the stories are amazing. That's what podcasts are about. That's why we do this. We bring people on to tell their story, whether it's about modifying diecast, their first car. It's about the stories, and about the stories that I'm going to create in the future. Going to be pretty cool, I hope.
Hey, can I mention part of the reason we wanted to come on, and we wanted to talk a little bit about the coloring book that Frank and I did together, but it's really about what's unique about this thing is that Frank's passion for music is overwhelming. And we decided to do something different and to create something that was kind of a emergence of cars and music. And I realized through that process is that we all love cars, but there's always that second thing that's right on deck. for us.
Yep.
And it might be that you're into music or you have another passion in a specific area. And this was a first for us. This is our 64th book, and doing it with Frank, and doing anything with Frank is always a pleasure because there's a wealth of knowledge and very passionate. But this was a challenge and a lot of fun for me because I had not illustrated instruments at all, ever, unless it was a French horn that was being shoved down someone's throat in a movie or something like that. But
A French horn. Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was just not a pleasant experience.
Couldn't pick an oboe or something? No.
That would be typical. It has to be something that's going to hurt a lot more.
Yeah, no doubt. It's wild. I never thought in my wildest dream that you take something that is so part of spirit. I walked away from that, and I still played here and there, but nothing like on the level of what I did in New York. And when I went into this automotive business, it was like relearning this whole new instrument, right? I mean, that's what it's about, right? You learn your instrument so you can say, right? You learn your skill set as an automotive technician so that you can fix something. You're saying something. You're speaking to the car. You're finding a solution. So when Fireball had approached me, I knew about the books. Of course, we had the books in our garage. We'd share them with our clients, whether it be Magnus Walker or any other books out there. We just thought the books were cool. And Fireball, what did I say? I said, dang it, as adults, we need to get our coloring book on. We need this in life. Like we do. Like there's so much noise out there. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, this is cool. This is cool stuff. So when Fireball approached me, I'm like, okay, I'm a gearhead. I'm a car guy, but I didn't always start like hardcore. Like I hear a lot of my friends say, oh, when I was in diapers, I was working on cars. I'm like, no, man, not me. So when I approached him about this whole music, put the music thing together with automotive and selecting artists and their rides, I just thought that's cool as heck. Not because it's self-serving because I'm a musician, but how many kids out there, how many adults can we inspire one or two people not only to color, but pick up a rusty French horn that they used to play in high school? So, I mean, these little things. And I thought, man, that's pretty powerful. And was honored to collaborate with Fireball. And I'm sorry, Fireball, I didn't realize you never drew instruments hardly or whatnot.
Not in that
I put a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that when it comes to an exhaust system, we call it what's the note of your car. There's a lot of musical connection with cars because when you start the car, you can listen to it and it's telling you something. It's telling whether it's running lean, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And our love of music, everybody loves music and we all love different aspects of it. But I think the connecting point that gives rise to it all is the fact that music keeps us present. It keeps us in the moment, and we're not thinking about our problems when you're listening to Christmas music or if you're in the car and you're listening to AC/DC or classical or whatever it is. And the nice thing about Frank's choices is that we got everybody from Blondie to Lou Rawls to Mick Jagger in there, and it's very diverse.
We got Snoop Dogg up in here.
It was a
Fireball?
Snoop Dogg in the end, yeah. With a doobie. He's got a doobie also.
I saw that.
So
now I got to tell you guys, this car, right? That car was in the shop.
That's outstanding.
So of course Lou Rawls is, God bless the guy, has been gone, but real estate, some big real estate guy owns that kit car, and he came in and I said, man, I mean, I wish I would have said, someday I'll have a coloring book, but that car came in the garage. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of sentimental value for the fellow that owned it. But yeah, I agree. Like Fireball, I think it's a win across the board. And you know what? I think going back to diecast, going back to the hobby of fixing and the love affair with getting to the next step on a Nissan, whether it's for yourself or for a client, man, we need this in life right now. There's so much noise out there. There's so much garbage. And so to get away from the digital face plant to actually spending time, I think it's huge to be able to just kind of get away that way and bury yourself in it. Fireball, I imagine you hear a lot of these stories with folks that have picked up the books from all over the world.
It's interesting because I people almost don't realize that they're screaming for something like this. I'm not talking about a coloring book. I'm talking about screaming for something in their lives to take the noise down. And because there's so much of it, a lot of us are turning to creative process. And for Mark, it's going to be working on a 280Z. For David, it's something, whatever you guys are passionate about, and you have to find that thing. Our goal as a team, as a group here, our goal, the reason that we do a podcast like this, is that those that are listening, we want you to get off your ass and find that thing for yourself. Find that passion for yourself. And if you aren't doing it, good on you, but you can do it more. And just like Frank said, 100 hours a day, 100 hours a week, or whatever time you put out, we all have time. And just when people tell me this all the time, oh man, I don't know how you get so much done. I was like, dude, I'm getting nothing done compared to someone like Elon Musk, who is building companies left and right. And it's just unbelievable. He wakes up around the same time I do. So we can always do more. But what's important is that if you have the awareness to find that thing that you love, as Frank does, and as you guys do, our love of diecast, our love of cars or music or however it is that we can get out there and we can share it in a way like this podcast to hopefully reach those people that are trying to figure out for themselves, what's my next level? As a kid, you're told, oh, you're a lazy man. You're playing video games and all this stuff. Well, my cousin now works for Ega. He works for the big companies designing video games because he played these games all the time and he loves them so much. He turned it into a career. And we're told so many times, yeah, you can't do that. I was sent to detention because I was drawing in the back of class all the time. And thank God, because then I got to draw what I wanted to do. Right. So Frank's living the dream. We're all trying to do that as best we can. But it's important for your listeners that you guys take a serious look at your life and get out there and do the thing that you love. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't.
And Fireball, you always say, and I think you've got it on your website, take that first step. The rest will unfold. It'll happen naturally. You just have to take that first step. I've always respected you for putting that on there.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, our biggest battle is the battle with ourselves. It's the fear that we face if we fail. It's the fear that we face if someone puts us down. It's cancel culture. It's people that are afraid to do things because of what people might think. And I just say that you're always going to have that, but you get this one life. And Frank is a great example of someone who's out there and living it and passionately. And I strive my best every day to be around people like that. I'm blessed to have a lot of really good friends that look at it that way. You guys included. And we're very grateful that you allowed us to come on the show and talk about this stuff. But I honestly, I love Chuck's shirt. It's all about Chuck's shirt today. It really is.
It is.
Frank, hold up the book one more time. Let's see the cover, because this is one you're going to want to grab, guys. That's got to be one of the coolest collaborations I think you've done, Fireball. And I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely getting a copy of that. What a cool guest.
Lots of folks, Fireball, commenting on the choice of color with that nice brass tone in the red in the background. Really a great job.
He actually didn't do it. It was AI.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it was.
Was that chat bot? Did you use the chat bot, buddy?
What
button
done does?
I got to add something. I got to add something because this has all to do with diecast hobby. Maybe not. You had mentioned something about sort of getting off our tails and just going out and just stepping in. I had a youngster ask me the other day, he's struggling with the why of what he does. And he's a young cat. And I'm like, listen, don't worry about the why right now. The how. There's so many people that are trying to formulate these algorithms of why, when sometimes the how, like how are you going to get up at 3 a.m. to do it? How are you going to go to bed at 11 at night to do it? Like the why is important, but it should never really get into the function of how. how you are working at a construction site may not be the why of your future. Maybe you're on a path elsewhere, but too many of us don't understand the how. Just go for it.
Yep.
And I think I see this in my industry, like many industries. I'm sure you guys have your stories where we sort of peek over the fence and we're like, oh, what's he doing with his diet?
Yeah.
Come on, worry about your backyard. And I think that's important. So, and I know if you like to color, that's all kinds of hot.
Yeah.
It's what I say.
It comes down. It always comes down to the quote from Elvis. It's a little less talk, a lot more action.
Yeah.
And you got to stop worrying about it and just get out there and do it.
Yeah, I think with technology and social media, I think the biggest thing that I was going to say is everybody's so focused on what other people are doing, how other people are doing this. When it comes to art, they're constantly comparing themselves to other people, and all their stuff is this their perfect stuff. They don't show their mistakes, and they don't show all the failures that it took to get to where they are at now. The thing that I'm trying to teach myself is just don't worry about what that other detail shop's doing. Focus on what you're doing. Be different. Do something different. Make people happy. Make it an experience that people feel like they're family, like they like you. They know that you're honest. You're going to take care of them, and that you're always going to make something right with them, no matter what. So, I think it's just like
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like Frank was saying,
A lot of being out here, I get to interact with a lot of really interesting people, and a commonality between a lot of successful people out here is they simply will say, I just fucked up more than most. I screwed up more than most. And you got to relish that. You got to be willing to get in, put your head in the motor and screw it up. Right.
Yep.
Because that's how we learn. And the same thing with custom diecast. You have this vision for putting these two cars together and creating something unique. It's not always going to go together perfectly, but every now and then you get this jewel. You accidentally come up with something that is just stunning. And Frank's a champion for that. If you're fearless moving forward and you have the intention of screwing up and you know you're going to, and that just on the opposite side of that screw up, it might be hurting someone's feelings. It might be eating too much. It might be eating too little, whatever it is that we do that causes things to happen in our life. Screwing up is one of the best things that can happen to you in your life. It's an amazing experience, and to be able to share that. Mistakes are golden.
Yep.
There you
Nobody's perfect.
100. Well said, Fireball.
I was just saying that I was talking to a YouTube creator who advises other YouTube creators, and it's endurance. A lot of people go, oh, well, I want to make great YouTube videos. And we've had people come to us and go, oh, you're doing this thing. We want to imitate that. Or it's like, go for it, do it. They're like, well, what do you need? And I was like, you got it in your pocket right now.
So,
there's never been a better time to get into broadcasting. You just have to remember to do the thing and keep doing it. And the YouTube creator, what he tells everybody is you've got to make your first 100 bad videos before you've got to be willing to go into this and go, the first 100 videos are not going to be what I want. And you make an incremental improvement each time. Sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's planned, but you have to be able to be willing to make that mistake and make the errors and put yourself out there. Cause that's the big thing is everybody says, well, I could never do that, or I would never get that opportunity. It's like, well, you got to be willing to put yourself out there first. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as Mr. Gretzky said.
I would say to add to Chuck, to what you're saying is, it might sound weird, but a strong woman. I'm blessed to have a woman in my life that pushes me forward when things are tough. But I know that Frank has Josephine, and I'm going to give Josephine a plug here because she is absolutely amazing businesswoman. She is always brings things down to brass tacks. She is a great inspiration, I know, and great kids. And when you have someone at your side that doesn't let you pull your own shit, that your own excuses, that says, someone will sit there and roll their eyes when you're giving them a sob story as to why things are difficult and say, you know what? I don't care. Just get busy, get in there and keep working. And that's it, whether it's your wife, whether it's a friend, whether it's just, that's how we support each other. And if you're lucky to have someone in your corner that won't let you get away with your own crap, then you're 1,000% ahead.
You got that right.
Tremendous asset.
Having that family that's willing to be honest with you, whether it's blood or spouse or the friends that become family, that's the key. Like no person is an island.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to lean on others, and it's okay to have others ask to lean on you. That's how we all win.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I think regarding the YouTube, what I see, we have our YouTube channels and such, and we put our content, and we're always trying to stay dialed in to obviously we want to do what we want to do, but we have to dial into the audience, right? The basic tenet of marketing, the message, the medium, and the market that you're after. And I think a lot of folks have a tendency to let time swallow their lunch, and they're so close. I think the overriding thing, no matter what you do, whether it be a YouTube channel, fix cars, or basket weave, is that you have to enjoy it. You have to truly enjoy it, because time will eat your lunch and you're out. You bailed out because you didn't have the sustenance for that. So I think regarding YouTube, I see a lot of creators, and they do come and go. I mean, with as many uploads as there are, they got into it for all the wrong reasons. And on that note, I think life in general, if you're entrepreneurial, whether you're putting out a YouTube channel, or you have a coloring book, or you have an automotive service center, or you've got real estate holdings of 2,000 properties, somewhere in there is the ability. And I think this is where we fall into a problem with social media and this dopamine hit of a notification. If I don't get that notification, no one loves me. And because no one loves me, I'm not doing the thing I'm doing well enough, or likable enough, or to the demands and mercy of the crowds. And this is where people fall apart. And so anybody watching now, it's critical. I mean, Fireball, when you talk about my whole course structure, I teach a lot of shop owners across the country. I hate the word coach. I hate the word expert. I do a lot of work with media, and they say, well, we got the expert. I said, no, don't ever do that again. I'm just a shop owner sharing stuff. Okay. Tips. That's what I want to be known as. I'm just a guy that made a lot of mistakes as a shop owner, sharing with you. I'm not the guru. I'm not the expert. I'm not the coach. But what I'm saying is, these are the little things that sometimes now we see this phenomenon where we'll go out of our way to do something, especially these young teenage girls. And this is an upsetting statistic. And I'll just tell you, my daughter's not on TikTok for it. She's not on TikTok, because we're chasing what is popular when we should be chasing core. We should be like I fell apart today. Why is that? I made this mistake today. Why is that? How can I get better? And we're losing that. And I know this is a Diecast car show, but I've got to speak on it, because I know someone on the replay of this will be watching this, and I know they're so close, and they got out of it for the wrong reason, or staying in something for all the wrong reasons.
We could all benefit from that. Absolutely. Frank.
Oh,
well said. Well said.
And more diecast. Just saying.
But not too much
More.
diecast.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Frank.
Not too much.
Guys, look what I stumbled on today. Here's your life lesson right here. When all else
oh, look at that.
Got some fireball action right.
Oh,
you can find that on Twitter.
That's a shot. I gotta give props to Danny Moorhead. He came to our museum, and I'm stacking all the cars and putting them all into order, and I'm getting super anal about it. He goes, "Oh, I gotta get a picture of this." I'm like, "Okay." So that was his shot, but
We're going to have to plan a trip out to this museum someday. Cause
Absolutely.
You bet.
I keep seeing these photos and it looks fantastic. So we got to go out in Malibu and say hi to you.
you
Well,
bet.
guys, once again, Fireball has done it. He's made an hour disappear.
Yeah.
Poof. A snap of
Fireball
his fingers.
Copperfield.
And we're left, as always, wanting more. So thank you both so much for being here. Frank, Fireball, we'll start with you, Frank. tell folks where they can find you, follow you, obviously wrenchnation.tv, but where all your social channels are so they can connect with you, and those will be in the description of this video or podcast episode.
Yeah, so Instagram, then I would say Frank Leutz, Leutz. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Twitter, very active on Twitter at Your Mechanic, Mechanic, one word. Instagram, and of course, look, and if you're a shop owner, I invite you to Service Life, a private Facebook group. You just come on in with a bunch of us knucklehead shop owners trying to help each other grow and get better and exchange ideas.
We talked about Frank's books. So all of our coloring books, Fireball coloring books, are on Amazon and Etsy. We got 64 books. The newest one is the one with Frank, which is the official Wrenchnation coloring book. And then for me, fireballtim.com, most of my stuff is concept art for film. That's not the coloring books, and that's on ArtStation. So you can go to ArtStation and just type in my name and you'll see the portfolio there. But we're on all social. Our show, Best of Show, is on YouTube and on TikTok, and Fireball Tim Best of Show. So we're around. You guys know, and friend me up so that I can friend you up and we can support each other, grow what we're doing.
It's almost impossible not to find Fireball if you're into cars at all. He's everywhere. And you've got
if you can't find me, you find the whiskey.
Exactly. Well, and you've got your live casts almost every day on your Facebook, and of course, Diecast Heroes. Everybody who's listening to this show had better have gone and bought the latest issue. It just hit the shelves as of us recording this. I've got my digital copy on my inbox and my physical copy in the mail. Very excited to get both of those. I always get one of each. Just to
Good Christmas birthdays.
They are.
Yeah.
So
Tony and Carmen do an amazing job. They have just incredible background of successful
magazines. We're gonna have to have them come back on again because they're just such dynamic energy. Again, incredibly positive people. I can see why you and them get along so well. And Frank, absolute pleasure to meet you. Very excited to learn more about yourself and about Wrench Nation and the good work that you're doing over there. We'll absolutely have to have you all back and to chat some more because I think we could, like I said, we could literally talk all day about this.
If ever in Phoenix, guys, my house, your house, ATV, boat, RV, whatever, come on down.
Okay.
Absolutely.
See you tomorrow.
Don't touch that dial. Diecast Breakdown will be right back after these messages.
This episode of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by you. That's right. We are 100% viewer and listener supported, and we are so grateful for those of you who have already supported the podcast and the shows we're planning to add to the Diecast Media Network family. You can find out more about how to support this project by visiting diecastmedianetwork.com or email us about sponsoring an episode at diecastbreakdown@gmail.com. The best way you can support what we're doing right now, though, is to subscribe and share these episodes with your family, friends, and Facebook groups. Anyone you think would enjoy what we're doing. Any extra attention we can get early on will go a huge way in helping this project grow. Thank you so much for sharing this journey with us.
Hello, this is Diecast Dude from the Netherlands, and you are watching Diecast Breakdown.
This presentation of Diecast Breakdown is brought to you by Twice Diecast and Dotson Man Diecast on YouTube. Please visit their links in the show notes and subscribe to their channels for more epic Diecast content. Hey kids, here's your chance to win a cool prize from Diecast Breakdown. Enter the following word or phrase into the YouTube comment section of this episode.
Today's word is wrench.
Winners will be selected 2 weeks after the air date of this episode. Be sure to subscribe for more great Diecast content and more chances to win fabulous prizes on Diecast Media Network.
Alright guys, this is Mad Vision here. You guys are watching Diecast Breakdown.
And now, the thrilling conclusion of this week's episode of Diecast Breakdown.
They don't have it all figured out, but they've got some really cool ways of doing life, and I've personally benefited from some of the things that our guests have shared. And you know, go check out the resources that are there. There's a lot of help and a lot of good stuff out there if we just will take the time to go look. So absolute joy hanging out with Frank and Fireball, and can't wait till the next one.
And we can't wait to hang out with all of y'all again. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the episode. If you made it this far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please share this with a friend if you think they would enjoy what we're talking about. And of course, always, if you can drop by the Apple podcast store and leave us a 5-star review. For every one of those that we get, we leave 2 more cars in the Hot Wheels for Hope bin for the next big Diecast Day of Giving, so be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out my amazing colleagues' channels, Twice Diecast and Dots and Man Diecast. They are cranking out some amazing content recently, and we want to make sure that I'm sure you're already subscribed to them if you're subscribed over here, but if you haven't checked them out lately, go by and say hello. So, as of course, we also always want to thank our patrons and our members who help keep the lights on over here and offset some of the costs of hosting and editing and all the fun stuff that we do over here. So thank you so much for helping us out. We've just been blown away by the generosity of this community, and we're looking forward to bringing you even more content very soon. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thanks for listening to Diecast Breakdown. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend to listen in. Find Diecast Breakdown on your favorite social media platforms or visit diecastmedianetwork.com to learn more about this and our other projects. Diecast Breakdown is a presentation of Flying Valiant and the Diecast Media Network.